Okay, happy day and welcome. So what we're going to be talking about are wave calculations right now. So there's going to be a practice wave calculations. If I take a look at like the preview of this, it's going to be some questions pretty easy, like what does this symbol stand for? What does the other one stand for? You can see you get points for answering them correctly. There's unlimited chances. What's the equation for C? So then it says, pull out a blank sheet of paper, write your name and title it Wave Calc. And then for the following problems, you just have to show a little bit of work. So it is going to be worth 2 points to upload your work at the end. So it'll ask you to do a calculation, and then you're going to write your answer. So there's like a drop down. Some of them are multiple choice, and then some of them are going to be fill in the blank. So the first ones are going to be multiple choice, and then when we get down to I believe like starting at question like 12, then it's going to be fill in the blank. Okay. But they should be pretty easy. For 15, what you're going to do is you're going to take a picture of your work, and then you're going to click insert image, and then you're going to upload the image. And then I would suggest doing this from your phone. We tried it. It does save. So if you save here and then you switch to your phone, you can still answer that question from your phone. Okay, so let me go to the slideshow real quick. This is going to be pretty quick. So I'm going to scroll right down to slide 22. If you're like, where is this slideshow? Because I want to look at it. It's under the assignment, under the setting for the assignments. Okay. Okay, so let me just hit the slideshow on here real quick. And let's scroll right through. Okay, so drawing waves and calculations. What do you think of when you hear about a wave? There's some answers some things that people think of. Think back to the intro to waves assignment. What are some properties? Like what is a wave? We know there's a crest and a trough and the wavelength and the amplitude and stuff like that. And so what are those parts defined? So this is all in that slideshow. There was a brain check. Then we were talking about frequency. And the frequency is really like how fast is your wave moving per second? And the symbol that we use is called nu, and it's measured in what are called hertz. And then there was a brain check, and then we were talking about drawing waves, how to do that. And so the slideshow goes through a little bit of that with some answers. And then we come to calculations. And this is the part that I wanted to talk to you about real quick. Okay, so the equation is C equals lambda times nu, okay? Pretty easy, but we want to rearrange it. And so we're going to use our little algebra triangle again, okay? So we're just going to try 3 problems together. We're going to set them up real quick and see how we do. So we could figure out the equations ourselves, which we're going to, but the slideshow does have the equations already worked out for you here. So let's take a look at the next slide on here. So C is the speed of light. When you're talking about electromagnetic radiation like radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, x-rays, gamma rays, you use the speed of light as 3 times 10 to the 8th C. It's a constant value. But this is a disclaimer. If you have a mechanical wave, it can travel at a different speed. And so the problems that we're going to be doing are going to have a different speed value. Okay, so just so you know, we are going to be calculating C, because usually we would say, oh, well, C is the speed of light, so it's 3 times 10 to the 8th, so we never have to calculate it. But you will see that we will be calculating these values of C. Okay, so let's try some of these out here. So the first example, remember what I always like to do is I always like to find what I'm looking for first and then label the numbers and fill them in. So what I'm going to do is I see 2 meters, and it tells me if it's in meters, that should be the wavelength. So in your head, or you could, just write it on your paper, that lambda is 2 meters. And then it says, and a frequency of 20 hertz. Frequency is that V. You can even make it look like a V. That's totally fine. So that's your V. And then it's asking us for the speed. If we're calculating C, then what's our equation for C? Remember that this represents a fraction. This represents a multiplication right there. So what do we do to get C? Cover it up, and what do we get? C equals, what do we think? C equals what? Lambda times nu. Very good. So C is equal to lambda times nu. So I'm going to plug it in. I know my lambda is equal to 2m, 2 meters. And I know my nu is equal to 20 hertz, so I'm going to multiply by 20 hz. And we know that you would do it in your calculator, but we know that 2 times 20 is equal to 40. Now the units are going to be funny, okay, because hertz are actually 1/seconds. That's the same thing as a hertz. So we're not getting 20 meter hertz or 40 meter hertz. We're getting 40 meters per second, and that's the unit of speed. Okay, so that would be your answer for that one. Okay, let's try another question. This one says we have a wavelength of 4 meters, so that's my lambda, and then it travels at 25 meters per second. Meters per second, that's not hertz. That would be frequency. This is what? It's not frequency. We already know our wavelength. What must this one be? Speed. This is our c. That's our speed. Okay. So I know I'm looking for frequency in this one. So I'm looking for this one. Cover it up. What's frequency equal to, everybody? How do I calculate it? V equals c over lambda. Good. So V, or frequency, is equal to c over lambda. So I'm going to plug in my c. This part is what you would do on paper. So my c, it says, is 25 meters per second. So 25 meters per second, make sure you abbreviate, divided by my lambda, which is 4 meters. And if you divide 25 by 4, you end up getting 6.25. And then my meters would cancel out, and I'm left with 1/seconds, or you can say hertz, because frequency should be measured in hertz. Okay. One more. Let's do one last one on here. So it says we have a frequency of 10 hertz. So that's my frequency. It's traveling at 30 meters per second. That's my speed. So I'm going to do that as my c. And they're asking us for the wavelength. So now I'm looking for lambda. What is lambda equal to? Lambda is equal to, cover it, is equal to c over v. So I'm going to do c over v. Then my c is my speed. So that's 30 meters per second. Divided by my frequency, which is 10 hertz. And again, hertz is 1/seconds. That's why it ends up working out mathematically. And everybody knows 30 divided by 10 is just 3. Now, I might ask you for 3 sig figs. You'll actually get it right if you don't. But if you want 3 numbers, then you would just do 3.00. Or if you just put 3, you would get the answer right. And since this is wavelength, what should the unit of wavelength be? If it's just a length, it should be in what? Meters. Very good. And that would be in meters. Okay? That would be in M. So frequency is in hertz, wavelength is in meters, and speed is in meters per second. Okay? All right. Hopefully that helps you out, and you can go right to your practice. Happy day.